Hello, this is Jason from J&M Simulations, and today I bring to you a quite nostalgic plane. We are going to be flying out of Dubai in what is known as the 747-200. Our destination is unknown, but it doesn't matter given the fact that this plane can carry a lot of fuel. And speaking of destination and fuel, this plane can carry a lot of it given the fact that it can go around 7,800, 900 miles on a fuel tank at its maximum takeoff weight, which is quite incredible given the fact that the 747-400 can only go around 7,300 miles depending on the engine variant. If I'm correct, Rolls-Royce has the worst economy in that, and GE has the best, leaving Pratt and Whitney and the middle ground of it. But we're not here for that aircraft. We're here for its father, the 747-200. Now, if you couldn't have told by the call sign right here, we are Speedbird, leaving that's only one domination of airliners to carry that code, and that is British Airways. Now, given the fact that this plane is from the 70s, we are in the older livery, and I find that quite fitting. Now, before we taxi out and take off, I'm going to let you know this is a first impression, so I will be in depth reviewing what you will see when if you decide to purchase this plane, and I will be deciding whether or not it is worth your money. But you are the final judge when that comes down to it. So as you can see, it has a fairly nice cockpit. It's not PMDG level material, but if everything was PMDG level material, there would be a lot less people playing flight simulation due to the frame rates. And on that note, this plane has very nice frame rates. I find it quite suitable for the task at hand, which is flying. It is quite smooth actually. Now we're going to be taking off from Dubai, and with that comes auto brake, so we're going to set that to RTO and see how that automatically set itself correctly. That's always appreciated. Automation is appreciated, but unfortunately, this being a plane of yesteryears, we won't have a lot of that. So this has a FMC, and I'm not sure this is not how they navigated. They navigated with a IRS, which is not found in this plane. So here it is. And this is a fully functioning IRS actually in this plane, which is quite impressive. CLS has stepped up their game in this category, whereas in the A380, A340 models, it just wasn't worth the money at all. It's INS. This INS is quite nice. The one thing about the INS though is it takes a while for it to say to capture the VOR, the waypoints at hand. So if you're going to fly, say like a 7-hour flight, and you're going to be there, you have quick waypoints from say 10 miles apart, it can get kind of confusing, but just bear that in mind, okay? So we're going to just commence our taxi, and we're going to see how it handles. The one thing I personally do not like about this aircraft is the way is the throttles. It seems to get it's very powerful, this plane, and you're gonna have to get used to it extremely quickly. See, we're already at 15 knots, and we are going to normally take our turn at around 10. So we're gonna want to idle our engines and go get back on that taxi line and go up again. And the one thing about it is that you're gonna have to keep those engines having a little bit of power, because this is a heavy aircraft and it will slow down on you very quickly. So you're gonna have to find that perfect sweet spot, that equilibrium of throttle, even when you're taxiing. So you're just gonna have to appreciate what pilots had to go through in the 70s. It's a lot without all the automation. So coming up on the turn, we're gonna want to turn our nose gear. It's not as dramatic as the MD-11, so we can turn where we feel comfortable at. So lining up with the taxiway, we would normally get takeoff clearance, departure clearance. Actually, fun fact of the day, when you were in a plane and you're talking to ATC, you are not to say ready for takeoff, you are to say ready for departure. And that is because it can cause some confusion. I actually just recently learned this. This goes to show that people still learn, even in aviation, even if you're good at it. You know, we still learn a little bit. So we would say ready for departure. It would give us a departure clearance. If there are no other planes, say, on the runway or that's getting ready to land, we would then depart or take off. But we just wouldn't tell ATC take off. It's a trick of the trade. So we're having nice weather, and what we're flying has no altitude restrictions at a certain given waypoint, so we are clear to climb. So we're gonna let our engine stabilize. And as you can hear, the whine of the engine is quite different from any other engines that you have heard or from anything. It's very loud, it's very whiny. It doesn't really have a bass, it's just there. So we're gonna give it full throttle. Oh, and engine 2, look at that. Engine 2 has decided to quit on us, so I'm gonna say that is a big con on the CLS's side. Given the fact that this was fully configured, we're gonna rotate right about now. And I like this. If we return perfectly, you couldn't even tell. We have a bit of a crosswind on takeoff, which is crazy. But that can also be due to our missing engine. So N2 is now rising due to the fact that I pressed Control E. So we are getting up speed, and we're gonna fully retract our flaps. We're gonna go to clean. That is what is known as clean. When we put the wings on clean mode, we completely empty up all the slats and all the flaps, and we are good to go. So we're going to take a look at the exterior and see how this looks. There is minimal wing flex, but you can definitely tell that they're there. And we only have this aircraft set up to about 25% fuel. So wing flex, you should see wing flex. Now, just to demonstrate for you, we have let the throttles go loose as a loose cannon, just as a reference to what I said earlier about this engine being extremely powerful. And in around 15 seconds flat, we were ready at 300 knots, which is in the real world illegal. But now that we are in simulation, this is just for demonstration purposes. This is a very powerful airplane, so if you're gonna fly with FS passengers, say, you want to be careful, very, very careful, because you will lose some money with this and lose some points with this. And if you haven't already, go check out the FS passengers page or a video that Matt has done, and to freshen your memory on what that is. So we're gonna go to the final fact of and my final verdict of this plane. Due to the fact I'm going to be a little bit biased and a little bit honest right now, I'm used to PMDT quality stuff. I'm used to having to program stuff in the CDU, and I'm used to having to go through checklists after checklists just to get this plane in the air. And this plane, of course, you're going to have to go through, say, a checklist of sorts, but it's not nearly as complicated or as thorough as you would have had in the past and in other planes. So it's not what I would do. And given the fact that the cockpit textures are a little bit compressed, as it's clear to see, and it's a little bit dirty, as I would say, in the first officer's panel, never mind, the flight engineer's panel is just disgusting. It's horrible. You do not want to look back there. Just keep your eyes on the sky and do yourself a favor. So my final verdict would be a 3 out of 5 stars, and I'm being extremely generous. This is for the simmer who does not necessarily want to load up all those, say, create a flight plan from a external source, get a virtual airline, and just do the whole 9 yards. This is for a person who is discontent with the original 747 and wants something a little bit older, something with a little more, you have to use more of your mind instead of the computer. So this is for that type of person, but they do not want to be so complex that it takes up half an hour or sometimes even an hour just to configure, just so that they can get in the air. So with that being said, this is my humble opinion. Tell me what you think about this plane, and if you guys have it, and if you guys are planning on having it, let us know in the comment section below. And this has been J&M Simulations with Jason signing out.